Hi friends, in the previous session we have completed the preparation for PHP. In this session we'll start with the Nginx. So let's start with it. We'll first create a Docker file for the Nginx and we'll take a reference from our rehearsal copy. So I'm just copy pasting it. So first line is the version of Nginx. This is the environment variable. It has no use, but it is just for reference purpose, and I will explain you what is the use of it. But we will receive these two arguments from the compose.yml file that we will create in upcoming sessions. Just for your reference, as we have created the go.yml file to make our Go container up and running, in the similar way we will create php nginx.yml file where we will pass these two arguments, and then we can use those arguments over here. So the arguments that we pass from the compose YML file we can receive during the build. Now we have to search for the Nginx image. Usually we can search it from Docker Hub. Okay, so here is the Nginx image and we'll search for the text Alpine. Right, so you can find all the Alpine images. We'll use Alpine 1.25.2 dash Alpine, right? So I have given the version over here and dash Alpine, right? And that version is 1.25.2. So this is this from statement will fetch the Nginx image from the Docker Hub. This is clear, and this is some local variables that we have also discussed during the creation of PHP Dockerfile. So over here, Nginx is my current directory. So me is an Nginx. This is from where our context starting, and in the similar way that we did with the PHP, we also create a conf directory within the Nginx directory where we will put our virtual host, right? And then I will copy this conf directory within the container slash etc nginx and conf.d directory, right? So let's create our conf files. So we'll create a directory called site enable. We are following some best practices for the directory structure. It's enable, it means whatever sites you have, you can put all the virtual host within this directory. Over here we will create a two file for our practice. One is practice.conf and second is practice-ssl.conf.tem. So let's start with it. Okay, we'll copy the code from here. I'll explain it, don't worry. We'll create another file called practice-ssl.conf.tmp. So I have created two virtual host file for Nginx. So this is the practice.conf file which allow us to run our practice application on port number 80. So the first line indicates on the virtual host is that our application dev.practice will run on the port number 80. The star indicates that I can use anything after this dev.practice. Then I have put our root directory, right? If you remember, during the creation of PHP file, we have set our working directory as a web practice, and we have copy our whole source code within this web practice directory, right? So I have given the path that web practice and public, that is our root directory, and within that we have our index.php file, right? And this is the location block, and this is the location block for PHP, right? And this is actually passing our request from Nginx to PHP for the execution. And as you remember that we have defined the port 9001 for our PHP FPM, and hence we have put the port over here 9001, and this is the name of the container for the PHP that you can see from this file, that name of our container is practice underscore PHP, right? So I have put practice underscore PHP over here, which means that our PHP FPM container is running on 9001 port, and the name to access the PHP FPM service is practice underscore PHP, right? And as we have already discussed that our PHP and Nginx are on the same networks, both the service can access each other with the either with the name of the service or either with the name of the container, right? So as you can see that we are passing the request from Nginx to PHP FPM, right? And I have redirected the output of logs in the standard error and standard output console. So this is all about practice.conf, and this is very similar to practice.conf, but this will run on the HTTP and this will run on the HTTPS, right? So over here it is listen on the port 443, which is the default port for HTTPS, and this is the self-signed certificate, right? Other part is same, right? The only difference is that you need to install the dummy certificate within the container, and you need to uncomment this line, you need to rebuild the Nginx again, then you need to rename this file to just conf, right? Like a like this way, then only it will work. But I will leave this as an exercise for you. Once we will make our PHP up and running using the HTTP, you need to do this as an exercise so that you need to run your PHP application using HTTPS instead of HTTP, right? So I have just keep .tmp extension, but you need to remove it when you actually start your practice for HTTPS, right? So this is the conf file which we are copying from source our source code to within the container. In the container we are copying our conf files to etc nginx conf.d directory. So this is about nginx, and one this is most important, that we are copying the code from PHP image to within the nginx container. So as you know that in our PHP container we have copied the source code already, right? Now our PHP image is ready, and during the creation of Nginx we will copy the code from this image. So this is the syntax, that we are copying the code from this image, and we are copying the directory web practice from this image to this container. So basically we are copying the code from PHP image to Nginx container or Nginx image, right? I will show you practically how it goes when we start with our practical, right? So we have now prepared the all the necessary code to run our Nginx container. In the next session we will start with our practical, where all these things will be more clear to you. So just don't worry. We have just prepared the code and I have explained it that what each lines will do. But when we do the practical, you will understand all the line very easily. So that is all about the Nginx. See you soon in the next lecture.